Welcome to WrestlingTruth.com. Round-the-clock pro wrestling news, TV coverage, and podcasts. And now, coming to you from across the pond in England, it's the Wrestling Truth webcast.
WrestleMania 29 is now in the history books, and we have a new WWE champion in John Cena. Good evening, everyone. I am WrestlingTruth.com editor Keelan Balderson, and I thought I'd share some of my quick thoughts on the big event. The internet is kind of blowing up with disappointment, and I'm not going to lie, I kind of wanted Ziggler to cash in as well. I kind of wanted Cena to go full-blown heel as well. I kind of wanted CM Punk to end the streak like other people. But that's not the way it was built. That's not the way it was sold to the general public. And those who bought it didn't buy it for the same reasons we watched it, for the things that we wanted to happen. The general public are vastly different than the internet wrestling community. And I think while, everyone now does have access to the internet, and every wrestling fan probably does from time to time Google about wrestling, not everyone is looking at insider news 24/7 every day of the week, and not everyone is ingrained in the inner workings of what's going on in the wrestling business. The way it was built is pretty much the way that it turned out. And if you're being honest with yourself and were watching the storylines beforehand, you knew pretty much that this was how the show was going to be. And I did a quick blog on that theme a little while ago today, basically saying, look, why do we do this to ourselves? We knew how this was going to turn out. The product is not really aimed at the hardcore fan right now. We're only really disappointed because we pretended that there might actually be some swerves and kind of tricked ourselves into thinking that something amazing was going to happen. If you take a step back and accept it for what it is, it wasn't really a bad show. There was some good wrestling on there. It was great to see the spectacle of it all, and the pyro and the giant arena and everything that goes along with that. I think people just set the bar a bit too high sometimes. Just because it's a bigger arena and there's some cool entrances and so on, it doesn't mean that the product is all of a sudden going to change and we're all going to be amazed because Ziggler's now the world champion and Orton turns heel and Cena turns heel. It doesn't happen overnight, and there was nothing really to suggest that a lot of these theories we've been putting out there were actually going to happen. And when I say we, I mean in general, the internet wrestling smarks, if you will. So let's go through the card. The Shield versus Sheamus, Ryback and Orton. When I watched this live, I thought it could have gone a bit longer, but I did re-watch the show this morning and I thought it was fine. Dean Ambrose is freaking amazing. Just the way he moves around the ring, his facial expressions. These guys are dripping with potential, and I can't wait just to see more and more of it. They've not overexposed them, they've not given them too much ring time, they've given them just enough so everyone wants more, and I think it's working. It needs to develop a bit more now, we need to know a bit more about each man and their character, but I'm eating up everything that the Shield is giving us. No heel turn from Orton. He did make the blind tag at the end and did kind of plant the seed for what would happen after the match, with the Big Show positioned as the bad guy, and he knocked out Orton and Sheamus. So I guess going into Extreme Rules, we'll either see Orton versus the Big Show or a three-way with them all, but no Orton heel turn just yet. Mark Henry picking up the victory over Ryback. That was a bit of a head scratcher for me. They kind of redeemed it after the match with Ryback getting the shell shock. But if they were going to do that and have Ryback get the last laugh, why didn't they just give him the win in the first place? The guy needs some victories, else his character is just going to become meaningless if it's not already. You know, Mark Henry didn't need that win. It should have been given to Ryback, in my opinion. As for the shell shock, I talked about that in the pre-show podcast, about how I thought it'd be extremely difficult for Ryback to pull that off. And if you look at it, it wasn't really a clean shell shock. He didn't hook the leg to begin with like he usually does. He basically did an attitude adjustment position and then grabbed the leg in the air once he got him up there. So, you know, it wasn't a clean shell shock, which is fine. You know, it's better than just having the meat hook clothesline, which isn't very impressive when, you know, the whole thing's built around who's the strongest. So Ryback got the last laugh there. Don't know why they didn't give him the win. I certainly did not see Fandango picking up the victory over Jericho. Even if it was a fluke, I mean, I really did not see that coming. You know, if he did win, I thought he would have grabbed the tights or something along those lines. But he basically got a clean victory. If a wrestler hurts their leg in the middle of the match, well, it's a wrestling match. They're going out there hurting each other. It's not like he cheated to win. And by all accounts, Vince McMahon is really behind the Fandango character, so that kind of makes sense that Jericho would do the job. Jericho is actually taking a month off to tour with Fozzy, and there were rumours during his last contract negotiation, because he's got all those outside projects with his band and with TV and stuff, that there was a little bit of heat between the company and Jericho, that they wanted him full time to do what they wanted, and of course he wants to do his outside projects. So in hindsight, it probably makes sense as to why Jericho did the job. It'll be interesting to see on Raw how this pans out. Obviously, I think you give Fandango the mic and you have him gloat over the victory to the point of like being completely obnoxious, which is his character. He needs to gloat over this. I hope they don't let this fizzle out. But that's that match. Unless they're planning something on Raw here, or in the next few weeks, I'm pretty disappointed that Ziggler and Langston lost the tag match. I mean, what are they going to do with Ziggler now? Kane and Daniel Bryan are supposed to be splitting up at some point. Why didn't they do it at WrestleMania? Have them fall out, have Ziggler and Langston get the belts. That whole Team Hell No thing has about ran its course. It's better if they break it up now while it's still hot than for people to go, oh, I'm sick of this now, just get it over and done with. So I don't know why they didn't do that at WrestleMania. I think Ziggler, if you're not going to give him the world title, at least let him have a tag run with Langston. Give him something. I don't really see the long-term benefit of Ziggler losing at WrestleMania. If he's supposed to be the next big star, which I hope he is, unless he's completely in the doghouse, it doesn't seem like he is, then give him some victories, for God's sake. I guess they think the live crowd were more into the kind of happy ending where everyone could chant yes, yes at Team Hell No and everyone goes home happy, but not really much kind of long-term thought in that one, I don't think. Alberto Del Rio retained the world title. Again, obviously no cash in from Ziggler at any point. We're not going to get to see what Jack Swagger's America would look like if he holds the world title. It's not particularly the ending that I was rooting for, but again, that's the way it was built. That was the big storyline. Del Rio is the Mexican hero. That's the way it was going to be. They've got a lot of stock behind him because they want him to fill that void left behind by Rey Mysterio. So at least in that one we can see where the booking team or the creative team or whatever, we can see where they were coming from with that. It's a business decision. They want that Hispanic market to get behind Del Rio, so they're going to keep pushing him and see if it actually works. And of course there's also that factor of, well, were they punishing Jack Swagger for his DUI arrest. Was he actually supposed to win and then they changed their minds? I don't know, but I personally would have preferred either Swagger to get the victory than to go on a massive heel run, dominating everybody, or Ziggler cashing in and winning on Del Rio, because I personally don't think that his face turn is connecting quite as well as they want it to. We move on then quickly to CM Punk and The Undertaker. I'm giving this one the match of the night. The crowd were probably more into this than Triple H Lesnar, which was fun. It wasn't amazing. It wasn't rubbish. It did drag a little bit. You know, if they had time constraints, they could have cut this match down a little bit. And I also felt Cena and Rock didn't quite get into that fifth gear that you would expect on a WrestleMania card. I thought their last match was actually better than this one. But yeah, tonight I give, or last night for last night's show, I give the match of the night to CM Punk and The Undertaker. And I also give the entrance of the night to The Undertaker. That was pretty cool how they had, I guess they were actually people rather than shadows or holograms or whatever, but these demons reaching out of the hellish pit. I thought that was a pretty cool visual. Also, Living Colour performing CM Punk's entrance live. I like that. I'm a fan of Living Colour. I've got the songs. I was listening to that song long before CM Punk got it as his theme, so that was pretty cool to see Living Colour performing live. They're aging a bit though. What happened to the dreadlocks, damn it? I don't necessarily have an issue with Undertaker continuing the streak. You know, as a fan, I would have probably liked Punk to end the streak, but it is what it is. If they choose to go that way, that's also absolutely fine. It is The Undertaker. But I guess the big question now is, if it's not CM Punk who's going to end the streak, is anyone actually going to end the streak? Who could it be if it's not CM Punk? There's nobody really left unless you give it to Cena. And Cena doesn't need the streak. If they're going to give the streak to somebody, it would be somebody like CM Punk, or maybe in a couple of years Dolph Ziggler or something like that. And I'm kind of the old school mentality. If you're going to retire, if you're going to leave the territory or whatever, then you do the job on the way out. It's good business. You may as well milk the streak for all that it's worth. People are not all of a sudden going to hate The Undertaker, and it's not going to tarnish his legacy if he retires on a loss. It's still The Undertaker. But whoever gets the victory and ends the streak will get a massive benefit from that. And I think out of anyone, it fits the Punk character best, at least in the heel sense. You know, I'm the best in the world. You know, I held the title for this many days. I ended the Undertaker streak. Nobody can touch me. It would be the perfect thing to cement CM Punk at the top of the ladder, because he's still second fiddle really to John Cena. He still had all his main events lower down on the card. As for the match itself, I don't know what it is about these unbreakable tables in recent months. Surely they can rig a table better than they've been doing. People are just clonking into them and it's not going anywhere. You know, if you care about these guys' welfare, make sure you have a table that breaks. It can't be that difficult. You know, do some tests. You've got millions and millions of dollars. Surely you can make a table that breaks when you want it to. Then again, on the other side, I did ponder while I was live tweeting last night, considering Triple H went through the table in his match, could it be that they decided that the table was to remain intact until it was time for Triple H to go through the table, if indeed that Triple H spot was planned? I guess we'll never know what really happened there, but you know, it could have been that Triple H just called that on the fly anyway. But yeah, just these unbreakable tables, sort it out. In terms of injuries, there's no word on if Punk is actually injured. He's just basically banged up, a bit bruised, or a lot bruised, I guess. And I guess he'll just have to rest up a bit. But can't they give him a break? He does have these nagging injuries. We do hear from time to time that he wants a rest. Just give it to him. He doesn't have to be on every house show. He doesn't have to be on every Raw wrestling. Just give him a little break. Give him a month off. There's nothing wrong with doing that. But yeah, no specific injuries coming out of WrestleMania. Triple H had some pretty bad bruising to his arm. The X-ray footage that they showed on the post-show, and it's on the WWE YouTube channel, that is legitimate. He is legitimately bruised and hurt, but no, it's not like he's pulled a muscle or teared a muscle even. He's not particularly injured in any way. It's just bruising. So to Lesnar Triple H, it was what everyone expected. A good match with some plunder. A lot of weapon spots. Lesnar is very believable in the way he comes across as like a dangerous person that could just do anything at any moment. Just throwing Triple H around like a rag doll out of nowhere, through tables and belly to back suplexes on the floor and all that stuff. People like to rag on Triple H, but he was bumping like hell last night, and we don't really see that kind of stuff very often anymore. So it certainly had an effect on me as a viewer, looking at Brock Lesnar and thinking, oh my god, this guy's just a monster. He can do what the hell he wants. Obviously, again, predictable. Triple H won. I don't know where this leaves Lesnar. He's kind of in that Ryback territory. He's supposed to be this beast, this monster, and he is a beast and a monster, but for some reason he can't actually get a winning streak going. I mean, if he's supposed to face The Rock at SummerSlam or CM Punk down the line over the next couple of years, I can't see him going over on The Rock. I can't see him going over on CM Punk, and I don't think he should go over on CM Punk. So where does that leave his character? He needs to get some wins under his belt. Maybe give him some squash matches on Raw. Give him a pay-per-view win over somebody like Sheamus or somebody. But yeah, for a monster, he's not exactly in the best position on the win-loss record. So we go on to the main event. John Cena and The Rock, number 2. Again, it's what everyone expected. There's no point getting annoyed about it. I think they could have had Cena work the heel role a bit more in the match and still have the same ending. They could have made him completely heel during the match and still ended with a handshake, and then that would have prevented any kind of backlash from the young fans. You don't have to turn him permanently heel. But just to add that bit more heat to the match, I think he probably should have gone, full-blown heel. The crowd were pretty dead to start with. It was getting cold at that point. Things had started to drag. So they really should have made Cena heel. I mean, if you look back to Hulk Hogan versus The Rock, where The Rock basically went heel because the crowd dictated it. And Hogan recently, then again it is Hogan, but Hogan recently claimed that was done on the fly. I don't know why they couldn't have done that tonight. They did tease it a little bit during the match, but it didn't quite go all the way there. So, it is what it is. We had the happy ending. John Cena gets his redemption. Not my cup of tea, but again, that was the storyline. That was the context. That's the way it was built up. That's why the kids got their parents to buy the pay-per-view, so John Cena could get his redemption. There's no point complaining about it. We should have been complaining about it, or yes, some of us were, months ago when the storyline began. There's no point watching and buying WrestleMania and then going, oh shucks, Cena won. What a crock. That's the way it was actually going. So there's no point getting all kind of butthurt about it. quickly touch on some news here. We're coming up to the 20-minute mark. I just wanted this to be quick, but I've kind of rambled on a bit. You probably realised while watching that there were massive time constraints. We didn't have any backstage segments. We didn't open the show with Lillian or Alicia Keys or anyone singing America the Beautiful, which has been a tradition for years now. The 8-person intergender tag match was completely cut from the card. They didn't show Jack Swagger and Zeb Coulter arriving in their military vehicle. They didn't show extended celebrations in the ring or anything. It was really kind of rushed and crammed together so they could fit it within that pay-per-view time frame. Now, I don't know whether that's because WWE completely underestimated how long the matches would need and had to kind of change it all at the last minute, or whether they actually just decided that we want the matches to go longer and screw all this extra fluff, we don't need it. We did get to see Triple H's entrance though from his little goblin fortress, but he came out looking like he'd been creamed on, which was hilarious, and it looked like Brock Lesnar was about to crack up. I mean, that almost topped his wet pants incident. But I wonder if any production staff got an ear bashing backstage, because he was completely covered in dry ice there. Definitely coming to a Botchamania near you. The Rock and Triple H are scheduled for tonight's Raw, but as far as we know, Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker are not. As I said earlier, Chris Jericho will be taking a month off to tour with Fozzy in Europe, so tonight is his last Raw until the UK tour, which is on the 22nd, 23rd, something like that. He'll be, because he's in Europe, he'll be at the London O2, one of the London O2 tapings. And then I'm not sure if he goes off again for a few more weeks. I'll have to check on that. But yeah, it's Chris Jericho's last night tonight, which may actually explain why he lost at WrestleMania, on top of all the other possible reasons. And it could be actually on Raw that he gets the win over Fandango, and that's that. But that pretty much wraps it up here today. I'll be back Sunday at 6 or 6:30ish UK time. I don't know what that is in American time, Eastern time, or over in the other side of America. But I'll be getting into some news and discussion and all the fallout from the rest of the week on Sunday, leading into the Supla, which is every Sunday at 7 PM UK time, on live stream and through WrestlingTruth.com. But that's it from me. Keep it locked on WrestlingTruth.com for more news as we head into tonight's Raw. And I will catch everybody on Sunday.
You've been listening to the Wrestling Truth webcast. For more great pro wrestling coverage, head over to WrestlingTruth.com and stay up to date on Twitter @Wrestling News. Subscribe to the RSS feed or follow us on Facebook.